let's go to the Accutron, because this is a cool thing. That is the original tuning fork watch, correct?
Yes.
What made that so revolutionary and cool at the time in 1960?
You got to remember, back in the 1950s, the American watch business was under attack, you'd say, by the Swiss. Predominantly, the Swiss were pouring, call them commercial grade and lower grade pin lever and mechanical movements into the U.S. market, and trying to grab market share against companies like Bulova, Hamilton, Bruin, to name a few. There were so many American companies back then. The American watch brands, who were founded by Western European immigrants who came to America to start these businesses, were building very high quality movements. If you look at a 1930s, 40s Hamilton movement, Bulova movements, Bruin movements, they're equal or better to any Swiss movement that was made at the time. The Accutron was the first battery-driven watch that was engineered so that it was extremely accurate.
Right.
So what all these lower-cost watches didn't bring to the table was accuracy. And as whether you're a newcomer to watch collecting or someone who's been around a while, you realize that all mechanical movements have gravitational error, have problems with gravity. Accutron had no problem at all with gravity because it worked on a totally different principle, which was vibration.
Right.
And so when Accutron was introduced in 1960, being accurate to within 1 minute a month, there's no COSC certificate that could come close to a chronometer level in mechanical movement that is 4 seconds a day times 30 days, that's more than a minute. And so, so even a chronometer accurate mechanical movement does not hold a candle to what Accutron brought in the form of accuracy.
So the Accutron movement was a tuning fork movement.
Yes.
How is that different than a quartz movement?
It's completely different.
Try to explain that in a very simple way that people understand.
If my hands shaped like this are the head of the tuning fork that are vibrating like this at hundreds of times per second, that vibration made the wheels in the movement shake. And the high frequency vibration or shaking of those wheels was harnessed by two jewels that were engineered so that when they intersected with the last wheel in the row, which is called the index wheel, those two jewels would intersect, one locking the wheel so that it couldn't go backwards, and the other jewel pushing the wheel so that the escapement, quote unquote, would move the wheels in a rotation that made the hands turn clockwise. And
tuning fork watches had sweeping seconds hands, just like a mechanical watch. Similar, except it divided the second into so many parts. The hand actually, visually you could not see the indexing, so the hand floated. Yeah, it was just a, what do they call it, gliding hand almost. Correct. So that was 1960, and that was the Accutron. How successful was that for Bulova?
Grand slam home run. They took over a market segment and they were not touched for 15 years.
I said the statement, you've said the statement, a watch is like a car for your wrist.
Yes.
Why do we say that?
Well, a watch is a particularly personal thing that the consumer wears. I always tell people that ask me questions like this, that when you put your white shirt and white shorts on this morning, that's the last time you had to look at those two items. You put them on, and that's what you're wearing today. So now I have to look at them, but you don't. But your watch is something you personally put on that you look at for yourself.
That's a good point.
And so because of that personal connection you have to that one thing on your body, that's the thing that means something different to you than the other things that you put on your body. Even your gold chains and your maybe other things that you may be wearing ornamentally, you can't see them, but your watch is something that you enjoy yourself.
So like your car, you look at it when you're walking up to it, you look at it when you're leaving it, when you're driving, you're checking it out.
And it is a highly engineered thing that is a personal expression of yourself.
Why do we like highly engineered things, especially ones that do more than we need? Like why are we fascinated by that?
Because of the complexity of our lives, the complexity of how you determine whether something is good or bad. anything that's been invented by man has always been taken to the highest level. The interesting thing about watches is the lever escapement hasn't changed in over 100 years. So what was being done in watchmaking 100 years ago, and the tools to make watches then, are identical to what's being done today. The difference being is because of the race to make watches more accurate, escapements have sped up, and the parts that drive escapements have become smaller, so that the amplitude of a high-speed escapement makes the hand divide time into more seconds, become more accurate and less susceptible to gravitational error.
And like this watch dives really, really deep. I've never gone more than a few meters underwater. But like, we still like to know, as like a prepared guy, that at some point, you know, I'm going to have the tool for that job. I think we like having the tool for the job, even if we're never going to need that to do that job.
I'll take you one step further. If you own a watch that's got a chronometer certificate, did you ever synchronize your watch with the time signal?
No.
Maybe 1 out of 1,000 people, maybe even 1 out of 5,000 would actually go to the trouble to get onto the U.S. Naval Observatory master clock and match their watch to the exact time in the world.
I like when I'm in Europe and we'll be talking about products, watches or cars or whatever, and there seems to be a bias against things not European. Yeah. So when there is a non-European thing they like, they kind of begrudgingly admit, like, yeah, I guess it's okay. It's okay.
Well, that's why I love talking about the facts about the American watch industry and how they were a significant contributor to the Swiss watch industry, because it's not refutable. It's a fact that it happened, and no Swiss companies talk about it because they're into marketing how the Swiss industry made the watch industry what it is, which is not true.
I have a theory about sort of car culture and watch culture. Like in the United States, especially in Los Angeles, where I'm from, I believe Los Angeles started what I call the car culture, because it was one of the first cities in the world that was designed around the fact that people were going to be driving places. Not walking, not taking public transportation, driving. And so everyone in LA had a car, has a car. I guess some people don't. And then since everyone had it, they're like, okay, we're all in the same playing field now. Now we're going to try to impress each other. And since we don't have anywhere important to go, just drive, there's the cruising culture, which means we've got to show off with our cars, have high performance things. So America in the last couple of decades has sort of been this car culture that we grow into. But watches, since it's become less of this combative thing where we're trying to impress each other, we've kind of lost it a little bit. Do you think that America as a watch culture place could come back, or are we at a point where it's going to be kind of too niche and too luxury and too fashiony, where it's going to be hard to get like the average person that would be into cars into watches?
No, I think American consumers are very much in the same level of sophistication as anybody involved in buying consumer products. And it's just a matter of time before a person who loves watches for the way they look is going to eventually be connected to them for the engineering principles of the watch.
What can the watch industry today in 2014 learn from the car industry to be more successful?
In my opinion, the best place for the car industry and the watch industry to actually learn from each other is about focus and about staying very true to your principles. And don't become all things to all people.
Perfect.